Hi all, my name is Ryan. I am the Early Careers Coordinator here at First Response. Thank you very much for joining us today. I've got 4 of our apprentices here to help answer your questions that you've posted to us, as well as Charlotte, who's one of our Early Careers mentors. We're just all going to introduce ourselves. So Charlotte, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Charlotte. I work for First Response for the last 6 years. I work in our Lee office and look after our Lee apprentices, 2 of which are on the call now. It's Max and Callum, and I live in St Helens.
Okay, Max.
Hi guys, I'm Max. I work in the account management department in Lee. I'm currently in my first year of the apprentice and I go to Manchester Metropolitan University and I live in Warrington.
Okay, thanks for that, Max. Callum?
Yeah, my name's Callum. I work with Max in the account management department, go to uni in Manchester Metropolitan and I live in Preston.
Okay, lovely. Joe?
Yeah, I'm Joe. I work in the accounts team at First Response. I've been at First Response 2 years now. I go to Sheffield Hallam Uni and live in Matlock.
Okay, and finally, Lewis?
Hi, I'm Lewis. I'm in the dealer setup role. I go to Sheffield Hallam University also, and I've just second year.
Okay, lovely. So that's the guys we've got on the call today. So what we're going to do is get straight into your questions, which we thank you for posting through the forms that we've sent out. And hopefully this is going to give you some answers to your most frequently asked questions. So I think the best place to start is understanding about an apprenticeship. So Callum, can you give a bit of an insight to what does an apprenticeship consist of?
Yeah, so in sort of my experience, obviously you're likely to work full time and then you sort of study a couple of days a month. We at Manchester Metropolitan University study 2 days every 3 weeks, but I think that differs if you sort of go to Sheffield Hallam and things like that. This sort of course is very assignment based. I've got about 6 assignments per year and the classes are pretty small as well. So there's about 30 people in the class, so you have a lot of sort of time to interact with the lecturers and things, which is obviously very different to a normal degree course. And there's also sort of work-based projects on your degree as well, which you will do a few in your time at work, and then you get to pick one that you choose to write about for the end of the degree.
Okay, lovely. So I think probably one of the next things that's worth going on to then is one of the questions that's come through to us today, which is about support. So Max, the question was, what support do you receive?
Yeah, so currently on the course there's absolutely loads of support, so there's no excuses whatsoever. You have support both at work and both at university as well. So in regards to the work support that you get, you have a team lead about your job role and your day-to-day work and how you can improve and how you can reach your goals and your targets. They're there just to make sure you are settling in and you are getting the most out of your day-to-day role at the company. You also have your early careers mentor who will be with you for the entirety of your degree apprenticeship. So you go to them both to get advice on your day-to-day working, but they're also there to support you with your university work at the same time. And also if you've got any personal things you want to discuss or get off your chest, you can also discuss that with them as well. Going over to like the university support you get, there's absolutely loads again in regards to that. So not only do you have your university lecturers you can go to about asking questions about theories you may have done whilst you've been on the course, and assignment questions, for instance, or any help you need in regards to that, you can go to them. And lastly, you do have your student officer you can go to. So they're not only there just to help you with your university work and your progression, but they're also there to make sure you are settling into work and you are attaining all the key skills that you should be attaining whilst you're out on the course, and just making sure you're getting the most out of the course in general.
Oh, lovely. Thanks very much for that, Max. Lewis, I think the next one's probably going to be best posed to you, but one of the questions was asked around what does day-to-day look like for an apprentice?
So day-to-day for an apprentice, so here at First Response we do 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. So in my instance, I work in the dealer setup role, so I work in one of the job roles within the company, and then on top of that, outside of my working hours, I would then be to do my university work. So generally if I do 9 till 5, maybe use my lunch hour or after lunch to get in some university work, because you have to work around our working hours. At First Response, well, we do 1 in 4 Saturdays as well. And now with the day-to-day as well, especially now I've completed in my I've completed all my sign-offs, you can look to take on more responsibility in your job role, look to develop further professionally and personally. So that's kind of what it looks like in the day-to-day.
Yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. Thanks very much for that, Lewis. And obviously we've discussed quite heavily about degree apprenticeship specifically, but one of the questions posed was around, is a degree apprenticeship the only option? Joe, would you like to add on this?
Yeah, so degree apprenticeships definitely aren't the only option. You can go down the more traditional university route. You can go straight into full or part-time employment, so just a regular job. Or there's also lower level apprenticeships, which are equivalent to A levels. So you don't have to go straight into a degree apprenticeship, no, but it is a good option.
Okay, brilliant. That's great. And I think if we can stay with you as well on here, you've talked about the options that people have when they're kind of leaving a college or a sixth form. Someone's asked directly, what do you need to study at A level and BTEC, and is that important?
So there's usually no specific requirements of what you need to study at A level or BTEC. I think you should just study whatever you enjoy the most, because that'll tend to be what you do best in. Business-based subjects can help you just to get a bit of an understanding about how businesses run, but there's no specific requirements of what you'd have to take on before an apprenticeship.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Joe. And then I think a question that's come in that relates directly to this as well, so I want to jump to you, Max, on this one is, the question is, if I do a degree apprenticeship, is that the same as a normal degree, which I know is definitely a common kind of misconception of a lot of people out there?
Yeah, so let's look at like the qualification base and the level of the qualification of a degree apprenticeship and a normal degree. And the degree is exactly the same. It's no different to a normal degree. It's the same level. It's the same qualification, so it won't matter or differ in any other way. The only difference, obviously, is that you are working a full 9-to-5 job, which you will be getting paid for, and then you will be studying part-time for the degree, which will also be covered by the company. So not only at the end of it will you have a fully qualified degree and no student debt, but you will also have attained during working and doing the degree at the same time all the key skills and experiences that future employees will look for. So that would definitely give you the edge over any future competition you may have when you go for future employment, for instance.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point there, Max. Really well said. I think whilst we're on this line, we might as well stay there. So Callum, one of the questions has also come in about, you know, what other options did you consider apart from an apprenticeship route?
Yeah, so when I sort of left college, like I had no idea what I wanted to do. The only thing I sort of did know was that I really enjoyed sort of business and studying business whilst at college. So I had sort of a few options really. I obviously applied for different apprenticeships, and it was a few sort of across the country and in the northwest where I'm based. I applied for unis again, sort of across the country and in the northwest. And I also thought about doing a bit of a gap year, maybe working or going abroad. But you know, it was definitely important to consider all the options that are available. And I think that because I got this sort of the interview, this, and I did really well, that this was definitely the route I wanted to take. And I knew that after considering everything, and this opportunity seemed to be pretty perfect, really.
No, that makes perfect sense. And Max, I want to come back to you on this one as well, because I think it's an important one while we discuss it. Is one of the questions that's come in is around, can I go to my local university to study, or is it a specific one that we set out?
Yeah, so currently we do have specific universities you can go to. The main reason for this is obviously degree apprenticeships are still up and coming, and not all universities offer the unique course that First Response is currently offering. So currently the two universities that First Response are currently using in regards to this course is Manchester Metropolitan and Sheffield Hallam. So depending on which office you go and work in, either Leigh or Nottingham, this will dictate what university you go and study at. So say you were to work at Leigh office, you'll be off to Manchester Met, and if you worked at the Nottingham office, you'll be off to Sheffield Hallam. And in regards to all that, all travel expenses are fully covered by the company to and from the universities.
No, that's really great. It's really cool. So I think the one thing I wanted to touch on here was a little bit more about how you then go on to get an apprenticeship. We've had quite a few questions coming to that. I mean, Charlotte, I don't know if you can cover this one off for us, but one of the questions that's coming, what are the entry requirements?
So it depends totally really what degree apprenticeship or apprenticeship in general that you're applying for. So for example, on the chartered manager degree apprenticeship that we do at First Response, it's 104 UCAS points, which is the equivalent to like BCC at A level. But BTECs are included in that as well. Extended diplomas, all at level 3 with grades distinction, merit and merit, but it depends totally on the apprenticeship that you're applying for. So just make sure that you have a look on the entry requirements before applying, and make sure you can get your predicted grades through from college to see if you qualify to apply for it.
No, that's brilliant. And if possible, Charlotte, I'd like to try and stay with you on this one. So one of the other questions that's come in is, and I think this is specific to someone individually, which is they've asked, do you have any apprenticeships in business if I only have GCSE maths but not English, as I'm doing English this year? So I don't know if you could cover that one off for us.
Yeah, well, it is preferable with most apprenticeships that are across the whole country that you do have your maths and English already before you apply for an apprenticeship. However, there are some options that you can do functional skills alongside your apprenticeship to gain your level 2 in maths or English. So again, that's something you need to really look into before you applied and make sure that that is available to you to offer with whatever you're applying for.
Yeah, and I think if I can just come in and add on that, I think it's really important that you speak to the employer as well and express that with them. So then really that they can talk to the training provider about getting you the kind of required support that you need to get your kind of level 2 qualifications that are really going to help you within the apprenticeship. So I think really, yes, it is an option. You can do the functional skills alongside it, but it's just about being open up front with the employer at the start and getting the support that you need, really. Okay, no, that's really good. I want to come to Joe on one here, which is around, we've had a question, Joe, posed directly about, how to apply for apprenticeships. I mean, people have referenced the government website, but, they're not always available. What's your experience in that?
So I applied for the First Response apprenticeship on Indeed. So I'm sure you'll be able to find apprenticeships on similar websites like that, like Reed or JobSite. A lot of them, obviously, like you said, are on the Gov website, but other regular job websites have apprenticeships on there as well, so you can find them there too.
Yeah, it'd be good to come to you, Callum. What was your experience on this?
Yeah, so I thought a really good website to use was Not Going to Uni, because they sort of allow you to choose the subject you want to study in and what level you want to do the apprenticeship as well. So if you're not looking for a degree apprenticeship, you can choose maybe like a level 5 or a level 4, and it does give you quite a lot of flexibility in looking for apprenticeships on that website.
Yeah, no, I think that's a huge website that a lot of people are out there using at the moment. Yeah, it'd be good to come to you as well, Lewis, on this. What would you like to add?
So I just thought I'd like to add, it's also worth looking on specific companies' websites as well. So if you're aware of some big companies around in your area, it's always worth going onto their website and looking what career paths they offer, because sometimes there is the opportunity there and there'll be jobs that you can apply for directly off companies' websites. So it's also worth having a look on there as well.
Makes sense. And I think there's been a question that's come into us as well, which is I'm going to take, which is how and when can I apply? Look, in terms of generally, a lot of the apprenticeships run in line with the academic year, so you often find that apprenticeship openings can run from probably September to April time. Some companies do recruit for their apprentices in the summer as well. But my advice to anyone out there looking to apply would be the sooner you can get on this, the better. You don't want to miss the boat. You don't want to miss application dates that close. So I would be saying from September onwards, be looking on the websites that, like Callum has mentioned, like Lewis has said, and like Joe has mentioned as well. That's going to give you a great understanding of what's out there. Specifically about First Response, like we're going through a really interesting phase at the moment. We are working on some new apprenticeships. So we can't give exact dates at the moment on what we're going to offer for the next year. All I would say for specifically with us, keep your eyes posted on some of the websites that have been mentioned below, and also directly our website where you can find out a little bit more about us. And the other thing that we massively encourage you to do is keep in contact with your careers teams at your local colleges and sixth forms. They're going to get updates from employers. They'll push them updates to you, but the more proactive you can be with that, the better, really. So the one other thing I want to bring on to now, Lewis, and come back to you on is around work experience. So one of the questions that came over to us was, what work experience did you have before applying for an apprenticeship, and how important is this?
Okay, great. So I'll go into a bit about what work experience I had, and then I'll say why it's important. So for myself, I had a couple of weeks work experience. So I had a week's work experience at GCI in Derby, and I also had a week's work experience in Boots, and also work experience as well. I had a gap year out where I worked full time in a pub, so I also had that experience in work also. So looking at some of the reasons of why it is important, so it definitely is an important factor, and if you can get it, I definitely recommend it. From a student perspective, it gives you insights into companies that potentially you might want to go and work for, or look into a specific sector that you potentially might want to go into, and that can help you identify whether it is something you'd like to pursue, or potentially if it's not for you. From an employer perspective, to have work experience on your CV, it's really good. It shows that you're dedicated to learn and develop, which is something which is really good, which an employer would look for. And it can also show that you've got some key skills which they look for, which potentially is like communication, time management skills, and so on. Looking from the terms of like actual work as well, so like a part-time job potentially while you're at sixth form or college, or having a gap year out, this shows can show an employer that you've got real commitment and eagerness for a career, and again can show a business what kind of skills that you have got. And also as well, in an interview setting, it's also good because, for example, you might get a question like, tell us a time when you've had to work as part of a team, and you can then also pull on those experiences of when you've been in your part-time job, let's say, for example, and use that to help structure an answer in an interview setting.
I think there's some really good points there, Lewis, especially around how you can apply it to an interview to help you to get that job. We've got some questions coming in now, a little bit around some details of kind of what happens when I'm in my apprenticeship. So I've been successful and I've got the job. Charlotte, I'd like to come to you on one if possible. Someone's asked, how much on average would someone be earning doing a degree apprenticeship?
Again, this depends completely on the apprenticeship level that you're at, the industry that you're in, and generally what kind of apprenticeship business it is in general. If I was to put a figure on it, I'd say sort of anywhere between sort of 13 to 15,000 per year, with some apprentices offering increases maybe throughout or upon graduation. But you've got to remember really that the monetary value in an apprenticeship comes with the not funding the degree yourself. So like Max said earlier, you're not having that debt at the end of your degree. You've got all that work experience and you've got a degree that's been paid for by the company. So there's a lot more sort of value in that than getting that sort of monetary salary per month. But it completely depends. So just do your research, have a little look out there, see what's out there. They will all vary depending on the different companies and industries.
Yeah, no, I think Charlotte makes some really good points there. Like you say, different industries, different companies are going to offer you something different. We've tried to give you a bit of a ballpark figure, but it can really vary, and that's ultimately the answer. There's a couple of questions that are coming in as well on kind of progression and on what you get to do. So Joe, if I can come to you, what are the career progression opportunities?
So there are a lot of career progression opportunities once you've completed the apprenticeship. So obviously you'll have 3 or 4 years, however long the apprenticeship is, of good experience in the workplace and a degree, obviously after you've finished, which is obviously something we touched on in an earlier question. But it's a unique position for you to be in because most people at your age will only have one or the other. So they'll have been working or they'll have done a degree. So to have both will put you ahead of people in jobs. However, most employers would want you to stay on after your apprenticeship because obviously they've funded your degree for you and given you all this experience. But the opportunities are endless, really. You could do anything you like.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point on that, Joe. Callum, I'd like to come to you on one if possible, and it's specifically about the role that you do. So feel free, Max, if you want to jump in on this later on as well. It says, what role do you do and how well is that integrated in? I think it'd be good to give them an insight into the kind of value that you do add.
Yeah, so my job role is I'm essentially an account manager, which obviously has a lot to it, but in essence, I assist customers with any queries or issues that they may be facing. So a big thing we've sort of been facing at the moment is the sort of coronavirus pandemic and customers being on sort of lower wages and things and not being able to pay. So me and Max have sort of pushed through that, and we've been on the front line in that respect, and we've been answering the calls and seeing how we can help them and make sure that they don't have to worry about this financial issues with ourselves. We can obviously see how we can assist them, and it's sort of it's important that we do that so that we can maintain that good relationship with the customer, and then hopefully they choose to sort of refinance with ourselves in the future.
Max, anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, just to add to that, obviously, when I first thought about like an account manager's perspective and like what I would be doing within the job role, I thought it'd be like very strict. I would need to be managing their payments, and they'd be like, obviously being strict on the customer and making sure they are making the payments. But since coming to the company and the company culture, it's very customer friendly. And as Callum mentioned, during this pandemic, we have to look out for the customer's best interest. And there has been a lot of times during this experience where we've had to really like dig deep into the customer's finances and set future plans going forward. So in regards to the role that we are doing, we're not just sorting out the short-term payments. We are looking long-term and seeing how we can build that relationship with the customer up and how we can get them back on track in the long term.
That sounds really good. Charlotte, if we could come to you as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to really, obviously, because I work with Max and Callum on a daily basis, a big part of their job as well is they get integrated into projects within the department as well. So they have made some great changes already. So they came in, fresh set of eyes, looking at the department, what can we do to improve X, Y, and Z? And as part of their role, not just being on the front line as well, is that they will actually build and develop changes into the day-to-day role to make it more efficient for the staff, better customer service, and overall improving sort of like our business. So I think that's really important to kind of add that links in really well with the degree as well and helps them write some of their assignments because they're having that hands-on experience of what they're learning at uni.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a great point, Charlotte, here, which is, ultimately we give apprentices the autonomy to come in and make changes and be involved in really good quality value added work. It is hugely important. Callum, if I could just come back to you, and I think Joe, you already mentioned it slightly about wanting, an employer wanting an apprentice to stay on with them after. Just a brief overview, Callum, how long is the course and am I guaranteed a job with you after?
Yes, so our course, the Chartered Management Degree Apprenticeship course is 4 years. I don't think you are guaranteed a job. However, if you sort of work hard at both work and at university, you achieve the grades that are expected of yourself, then I think the employer would obviously look to keep you full-time permanent because, like sort of Joe mentioned earlier, they've put a lot of time and investment into yourself, so they want to get that sort of back out of you with your new experiences and what the degree has brought to the table and see how you can improve the business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you make a really valid point there, Callum, is there's probably no such thing as a guaranteed job, but if you are willing to work hard, you are willing to add value and be a really good member of the team, then employer, of course we want to commit to you and of course we want to continue that investment in you, and that's why we bring you on in the first place. So ultimately, it is what you make of it. You can make yourself a guaranteed job. So yeah, no, really good points there. There's one coming that's specifically around Derby College, which was one we want to answer, which was, if I'm part of the Employer Academy, will this benefit me and support a future application with first response? Obviously, I work very closely with the college and have done now for a number of years, as well as being a previous student of the college. So I'm happy to take this on myself. But ultimately, yes, Derby College give you a great opportunity to interact with us throughout your course. like from my experience, it gives you a great opportunity to take a work experience placement with us, which obviously means you either get to visit the business physically or remotely and get a feel for the culture, get a feel for the people, the values, the ethos, what we stand by. And I think for me, that's an opportunity where you can assess whether first response is the right business for you, and we can assess whether you're the right person for first response. So it's a win-win from that perspective, really. Of course, it would support your application. We would get to know you. We would understand that question, and you would understand if you want to work for us. But more than anything, you know, I speak to loads of early careers recruiters that I know throughout industry, and ultimately they're super keen on students and people having work experience, like we've touched on this call today so far. So it can only benefit you. So I would absolutely encourage you to engage with the Employer Academy framework at Derby College. It's such a great framework and has seen many successes, either out of the college into other employers or directly to first response. So yeah, absolutely. And then the final question that's come in with us today is around other apprenticeships apart from kind of degree and business. And one of the questions was specifically, are there any apprenticeships in real estate? We don't certainly offer one in real estate. I truthfully don't know what's available in that area, but the best place to look to be able to view all the apprenticeship standards out there is on the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education's website. So if you type that into Google, go onto their website, have a look at the apprenticeship standards, you can find out everything that's available, from understanding different areas of faculty and also the level of that apprenticeship and what's required to get on it. There's also links directly from the Institute's website to find training providers, people who are offering that apprenticeship. So it's a really good place to look. So I think that concludes the first series of our webinar. I'd like to really thank Max, Callum, Lewis and Joe as apprentices for joining us, and thank you very much for answering the questions. A special thanks as well for Charlotte, who's helped support this throughout. Hopefully you find this valuable, and hopefully this gives you an insight into some of the frequently asked questions to apprenticeships. So thank you very much for joining us.